Yeah, let me look at, the past 4 years of the administration, what's happened. Look what's
Mhm.
happening right here in the state of Missouri because of what the Biden administration has been able to pass through Congress. We are rebuilding I-70
Sure.
because of those Biden bucks that
Because
have
of
come
Joe
to
Biden
Missouri, and we
and Roy
all
Blunt
have
and
to
Emanuel
recognize
Cleaver.
that.
I think
Well,
it's fair to
absolutely.
throw in Cleaver and Blunt, but
And
yes.
I give Graves a lot of credit for making sure that Missouri finally has the investments in our transportation infrastructure that we
Sure.
need. I mean, all of the folks deserve credit there. So I want to acknowledge what has been happening the last 4 years, and we have seen an incredibly successful administration, whether it's the lowest unemployment rate that we've seen, whether we finally see inflation coming down. There's a lot of good things happening right now in the United
All
States.
right, let me push
So
back
as
one
an
thing on the doors.
American,
Let
when
me
I
push back
tuned
on your
in,
doors. Nobody's telling you things are more expensive than they used to be. Because
well,
I
sure,
think
we
Joe
all
Biden
acknowledge that. No, but I'm
has had a
saying that
fine
finally
presidency.
we are starting to get that under wraps a little bit. But let me go to the debate on Thursday night. Scott, like so many people that were tuned in, I watched that with just kind of a disbelief of what I was seeing. And quite
Yeah.
frankly, it was just a sad evening to be an American.
My mouth
I
dropped
love
open.
this country as much as anybody. And it was so sad to see those two guys up there for every reason, from all of my feelings about Trump and what Trump did as president, but the fear of what he would do if he's reelected as president, to seeing Joe Biden, who again we all recognize is a nice man who has had a successful presidency, not being on top of his game, and quite frankly, not being able to communicate that with us. And that, as an American, I just want to hear, what's your vision for this country, right?
Well,
So it was a sad night. It was frustrating for me um, to see that this was our reality. That again, we're in this rematch once again. I certainly would like new faces up there and different people and different perspectives up there, but that is our reality, and that's what we're faced with.
tell
So
me about
again, I go back
Democrat
to,
politics. From the
yeah.
outside looking in, it ain't my neck of the woods, but it would strike me. I've actually talked to Flat Doug about this a few times here on the show. Um, I don't see how you could skip Kamala Harris. I don't think she's the best candidate, probably, but I think it'd be real hard to pass her over, just because of the dynamics of Democratic politics. Am I wrong?
No, and I think Kamala has a lot of strengths. I
I think she's got
My
personality. I
understanding,
will
like
say that.
everybody else, is that there's a lot of conversations happening right now. But bottom line, I don't control what happens at the top of the ticket, right?
Mhm.
So I go back to my reason for running for state rep in the first place. It's about local issues. It's about what can I do right here to move Missouri forward. And so I've decided if I spend all my time and energy fretting over that top of the ticket, that I would get nothing done, right? So right now I'm focused back on this race. What can I do
Well,
to
let me just
move
ask you
Missouri forward?
strategically. The top of the
Sure.
ticket's going to impact how this will settle out here in the next, what, 5, 6 weeks. But however
Oh,
this
without a
settles
doubt. I'd
out,
say, yeah,
it'll
for sure
adjust
it
your
settles
strategy
out
a
in the
little
next month.
bit. Setting it Labor Day after you've done all the parades and done everything, and you're sitting there thinking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
my plan for the next 8, 10 weeks, who's at the top of the ticket and how strong they are in your district will impact kind of your moves, right? Whoever it is.
Well, I think that's where we make sure all of our messaging is front and center on restoring reproductive freedom. That's the reason why Democratic voters and independents and moderates are going to get out to vote this November.
I actually, I've always said I think you'd get better Republican policies if you elected more Democrats to the state legislature. And I thought that might be, I thought abortion being on the same ballot, I think that we saw with right to work that it doesn't always transfer from August to November. But I thought it being on the same ballot that opened up a big opportunity for your party.
Yeah, it does. It
I do think
absolutely
the top
helps
of the
us. I mean,
ticket
you
gets
look at
somebody
a
back.
lot of these suburban Senate seats right now. You mentioned the 15th earlier. We couldn't have a better candidate than Joe
That's true.
Peerless in that race right now.
Terrific
He's the
recruit.
right guy at the right time
Credit
to flip
to
that
Flat Doug
seat.
Beck.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, honestly, Joe Peerless is that one heck of a guy, and I encourage
Yeah.
everybody to get to know him. I'm excited. You'll get to know him for sure when he's in the Missouri Senate. He's incredible. But again, having the right person there, and Joe can speak so well as to why it's not just about passing the initiative petition and enshrining constitutional freedoms in our constitution to reproductive health, but it's also making sure that we have the right legislators there, because all of those statutes are going to have to be rewritten, and you got to have the right people there to hold the line and make sure that we protect the will of the voters.
You talked about making the blue district bluer. Are you going to bring the Royals up to your district?
You know what? My goal right now is to make sure that the Royals and the Chiefs stay in Missouri. And I think that is step number one. We've got to figure out how they stay here. I've said so many times, and again, I've grown up in this area, right? Like this kind of is part of my DNA, being a Royals fan, being a Chiefs
Oh, I
fan.
hate to hear that.
And I'm
Oh,
telling you, it's been, back in the
it's
day,
like being a fan of the Taliban and saying, "Oh, 9/11 didn't happen." 10/26/85 happened. It happened, Maggie.
well, here's the deal, right? When you live here, right? This time of year, we bleed blue. We really do. The
You do
Royals are
not. Oh
back.
my
If
god.
you,
Kelton, I need you to look up for me right now the average
well,
attendance for a
I
Royals
can't,
game in the month of June.
I can't wait for, well, Scott, we don't
Oh,
even need to get into your
that when
Cardinals,
you
right?
tell
But
me
the
you
Royals are
bleed
coming back. You talk about,
red, what's
you
the number,
talk
Kelton?
about like everything in
18,700.
And that's
Kansas
tickets
City right
sold.
now. Wow.
Now, Maggie, I'm gonna put you on the spot. When you tell me you bleed Chiefs red, I believe you 100%, and I respect it. And I've become a Chiefs fan myself. And a lot of the reason is the fervor and the passion of the Chiefs fan base that definitely extends into Jefferson City and, frankly, even into St. Louis now.
But we've been
However,
through all of that, through
I
all of
have
those,
been to a Royals game in
losing
June when
years.
they were in second place, and if a bomb went off there, it wouldn't even been a mass murder.
Oh, that's too
Now,
sad.
you know
Well, I
that's the
think
truth. Nobody shows up to them
people,
games. You know that.
well, I think people are starting, there's more people this year at the K than
Maggie's
there
so
were
good. This
last
is why she's
year.
gonna be such a good senator. Is she
And
lets me put
we
out
have
facts and she just darts around.
And no, but we have to make sure that these teams stay in Missouri. I keep saying that it's not just that they're good for Missouri. Missouri's good for them, right? You look at how the Hunt family came up here from Texas and what they've done not just in Kansas City, but for the entire NFL, right? This is who they are. This is where they've built this dynasty, and I'm certain they're going to want to stay here. In terms of the Royals, there's nothing better than downtown baseball. I'm
I
very
agree.
supportive of getting the Royals to downtown, whether that's downtown in Jackson County or downtown in Clay County. We're going to make
I like what
sure
you did
that
there. I like
when
that.
legislators get back together, this has to be a top priority, just like we've done over and over again to make sure some of our top jobs and stay in the state, whether it's auto manufacturing, whether it's rolling out all the different incentive packages to get tech here in Missouri. We have to come together and make sure that these teams are here to stay.
Okay, Missouri, listen to me right now. I've been telling you, you read my tip sheets, Maggie Nuremberg is going to be an outstanding top of the class senator. And if you want to know why I've been saying that, just review the last 90 seconds of this interview. It was just masterful. Somewhere Chris Koster would tip his hat to the interview skills she just put out. But this is my read. You kind of come down to two sites for the Chiefs, or three, I guess. Some theoretical Kansas site that I don't know much about. You have a
We don't
site
need to talk about that.
in the West Bottoms. Well, good for the Royals. The Royals are just playing their game. I always tell people, if you think the Chiefs are going to stay and Royals in Missouri with no financial incentives, that's not real. Now, that's fine if you don't care, but to tell people they will stay without some financial incentives, I don't think is reality. And I think if you and I owned a business, I'd be saying, no, we're going to go where we can make the most money. That's just capitalism. And is it a border war and bad policy? Yeah, of course. But it's also just reality. There's a site in the West Bottom where I've heard some folks say we can use some of these star bonds, which have some questionable. The star bonds are a little questionable. Then we can use some of the Jackson County tax money and build a stadium right on the state line, the West Bottoms. And then you take the bulk of that money and you refurbish Arrowhead, which I think everybody in the state's agreed. I had the governor sitting in this chair a couple weeks ago. The Chiefs are going to get a package, including state money, whether that's just existing programs within the state to refurbish Arrowhead. And then the Royals move that West Bottoms to Kansas or to the site. I think downtown baseball would have been the A solution. I understand that. But the Northland site, you have so many acres. You have a great view of downtown. The development looks awesome. You have kind of not control of that city, but there's very few residents of that city right now. Boy, it just feels like there's a lot of reasons. And my buddy Ryan Sylvie, who is rarely wrong about, I hate to say this, anything, he predicted this from the start. It feels to me like you're either going to try to put a square peg in a round hole in the West Bottoms with some sort of Kansas-Missouri mix that rarely ever works. You have a Northland site ready to put a shovel in. And then you have Arrowhead, which is a beautiful stadium that I assume you could refurbish and accomplish the Chiefs' goals. Isn't some mix of that with Jackson County voters back involved? Isn't that the move?
Oh, I think so. I mean, this has to be a regional approach. We know that no single county is going to get this done. We're going to have all the local players as well as the state in this. And, obviously I'm biased to Clay County. I absolutely love it. North Kansas City is one of the neatest downtowns in our state. We have an incredible view of the river. We have a really awesome district that's already been created down there, an entertainment district with your microbreweries and local restaurants. It's very walkable. When I'm looking at going to a game with my 3 kids and my husband, I want to be able to go out to eat, feel like we're safe, be able to walk around. Public transit is something that we're really focused on right now in Kansas City. And we're going to make sure that we get that streetcar across the river so people can hop on and hop off.
Do people really ride that thing? Seriously.
All the time. And Scott, have you ridden it?
No, God, no. I'm from rural Missouri. We drive my truck wherever I go.
Next time you come to Kansas City, we're going to park your truck at the River Market. We're going to hop on, take it down, grab a drink, grab a coffee, whatever, and then head down to Union Station. You're going to see what's happening right now on that streetcar and the economic development that surrounds it.
I'll do it for you on 2 conditions. I don't drink coffee and I don't drink microbrewers. I drink Anheuser-Busch products.
We'll find some.
Everyone else is a microbrewer. There's the King, and then there's microbrewers like Coors and other smaller brewers.
You're going to have to join me once we break ground for the Royal Stadium in Clay County. We're at Cinder Block, and I tell you what,
we're going to do it after the election and before Thanksgiving. How about that?
Okay, sounds good.
You probably got a bit of a busy schedule. All right, I want to thank when you do bring folks in town. We're very honored to be joined by State Representative Maggie Nuremberg, running for state senate in the Northland of Kansas City. What hotel do you put them up at if you care about them? If you have like quality people you want, not the folks you don't really want to come, you're just getting them the cheapest room possible because you want them to come back. But like people you want to. I know you got kinfolks in Fulton, but you bring somebody from out of town. What hotel you put them up at in Jeff City?
In Jeff City?
Yeah.
There's only one as somebody who lived at the Capitol Plaza for 2 years, it's been interesting. So every time I say, if I was going to stay in Jeff City, Courtyard, the Marriott Courtyard.
Yeah, that's where I knew she would land it. I got a little worried there for a second. I thought she went Biden on me.
I had your back on this. I'm not trying to put down the Capitol Plaza, but honestly, I love the Courtyard by the Marriott and beautiful view of the Capitol. There is no other patio in Jeff City to grab a drink that has a more beautiful view than that one.
And that rural broadband money you've been putting out, the folks put it to very good use. United Fiber up in the great Northwest, Senator Hageman would say. Let's talk about a couple other races because I don't want to keep you. I know you've got commitments. You've got a state senate. It's just really a primary to replace Greg Razor over with Patty Lewis and Pat Contreras. When this was announced, okay, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I did find it a little convenient that the day Greg leaves, Pat steps in, some endorsements come. It did feel a skosh coordinated. Then it kind of felt like you all had an internal discussion amongst some of the legislators of who would run, and you decided to back Patty Lewis. And it does feel as though there were some well-laid plans that Patty Lewis is upending. Tell me where I'm off.
I think you're spot on. I think a lot of that happened and the coordination that happened as Senator Razor withdrew and Pat came in. A lot of those endorsements came under false pretenses and that there wasn't a primary. If you look at what is happening right now in the state house, you will see that Democratic women are carrying a lot of weight on their shoulder. We have an incredible bench right now. And I think it is so important that people have been in the trenches, that they know how to not just stop bad legislation, but get stuff done. And that's what Patty's done. I mean, she has been an absolute force in the House. I'm really excited to see how her campaign has come together so quickly. They are raising money, knocking doors, doing all the things to win. And again, I know we've brought this back a lot, but it all goes back to reproductive freedom. You look at that district and women are going to turn out overwhelmingly to vote for a woman nurse.
It does feel like Pat's in the wrong place. And I know Pat a little bit. I don't want to.
He's a nice guy, right? I say the same thing about my opponent. They're nice people, but
Jerry is a nice old boy.
Oh, absolutely. We go to church with Jerry, very nice man, right? Is
No
he the right
kidding.
voice for the Senate district right now? No.
Okay, if you when you get done, you got to have Jerry draw one of those toilet seat things he draws of folks.
He's quite the artist.
Yeah,
Yep.
he always drew like the asshole of the year when he was in the house, and he would draw a toilet seat with a piece of paper and draw it through. Um, maybe you might earn that distinction actually, and if you are, I would take that with pride if I were you. You're a long list of
My
Shannon
my
Coopers.
whole goal is to kill people with kindness, so I hope I don't get that labeled.
All right. So you're predicting Patty Lewis. It just feels like Pat's run
Without
for
a
the
doubt.
campaign.
I think it's going to be 60-40.
So there's another race. I just got done doing James Owens' podcast, Renew Gurus. I'll put a link up when it's ready to go. I did some St. Louis radio talking about this governor's race. I'll be the bad guy that can't eat at Hardee's in Springfield the more, and just say that, you know, I do think Crystal objectively took a Democrat caucus that was just a joke. It was in shambles, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody. It was an open sarcastic joke. It had highlighted good members in it, yes, but overall, it was simply an eye roll afterthought of goofiness. And she's turned that into an effective, growing caucus, winning elections. It actually has a campaign operation. She's paid her dues amazingly. And then I hear two narratives from Democrats. I hear women have been disadvantaged because of entitled, rich, white, heterosexual Christian males coming in and breaking the rules. Then I hear the rules of elections are important and should be followed. And hell, if you break an election law, we should put you in prison for three things kind of tangential related to that. Now, my camera swore to the folks, give his solemn word. He lived in Chicago in 2020, and he voted there. People said there's no voter fraud. Well, my camera swore that he lived in the state of Missouri for 10 years back in March. Now, I didn't even got to take my boots off to do the math on this. You take 4 from 10, and you still got 6 more years. So either he committed fraud in Chicago, or he committed fraud in Jefferson City in March. Now, I have, as an admitted Republican, I respect folks that do good work. I have a high regard for John Rizzo, a high regard for Crystal Quaid. They're professionals. Number one, what's this narrative about we don't bend the rules for entitled white heterosexual Christian males if you just totally shattered the rules for white, rich, elitist, heterosexual Christian males?
Okay. Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
Tell me where I'm wrong. I'm a simple white trash hillbilly.
Let me start with this. I've never once met my camera. I live in Clay County, one of the most important districts for a Democrat to win, right? Never once have I met the man. I don't think he's been here. I certainly have not received any sort of messages that he has. Crystal Quaid has been in the trenches for years, building back power for Democrats. Before she even thought about being governor, she was here constantly because she knew how important it was to be an effective leader in the state house. She had to understand all the different areas of the state and our different concerns because, yes, they vary, right? And Crystal was here time and time again. I have the utmost respect for her. I look back and it's people like Crystal, like Carrie Engel, like Warren Arthur that encouraged me to run in the first place, right? I was a mom with 3 kids, 5 and under, feeling very frustrated what I was seeing happening across our nation and across our state. And it was those women who encouraged me to run for office. And look at me today, right? Those are the type of people we need. And I can't even tell you what's happening right now as people hear Crystal's story and she shares how she is the first one to graduate from high school.
She's an impressive woman. There's no two ways about it.
And how much hope she is giving to the next generation that, yes, you can stand up. It doesn't matter where you come from or your humble beginnings, but if you work hard, look at what you can achieve. And so I'm absolutely confident again on that race. I'm happy to give a bold prediction, but I think, Crystal wins that primary again by 70%. She has been there.
I think 70. I love your confidence, but I mean, if he's running a couple $1 million in ads, that's gonna make a difference.
But again, people don't know him. They don't know him, and I think
probably the people at Wrigley Field know him.
It takes a heck of a lot of time to build name ID in this state. We know that for all of the electeds, okay? And while people get out there and you hear, maybe I don't know who that person is, but I'm gonna trust the people around me, my local elected officials, others, and they're gonna, and over, who has everybody endorsed right now? It's Crystal Quaid. And I think those endorsements are gonna go really far when people go to the ballot in August.
I tend to think you're right. I just tend to think that you will be on the Senate floor. If you lose the primary, people don't really remember you. But I do think if you're going back and you're like, the guy that ran against Nixon, Dave Spence, I remember him and whole stuff. If you are the party's nominee for governor, your name sticks around in the consciousness much more than if you're not. And I do think it's quite plain. You will be on the Senate floor. There will be Republican attempts to make you fill out more paperwork to vote. You're going to say election fraud doesn't happen. And any number of 24 Republicans are going to look at you and be like, what? You just signed off on it. You just campaigned with election fraud. And if he were to win the seat, I think they'd kick him out. So
Look,
I do think there's a bit of a hypocrisy in saying, there's no problems here. No, there's a problem, and the Democrat Party that does tell you Donald Trump should go to jail for some sort of not even election-related election offense, and then they totally break every comment. You could not explain this to anybody at Chicken and Pickle, and you just put your 10 fingers up. They'd say you're bullshit. You're full of shit.
well, and obviously I'm frustrated with how all of this went down. I mean, the absolute first to admit that. I would love to see all of this tightened up in terms of residency much more. I mean, there's a reason why these residency requirements are there in the first place,
Hey,
right?
everybody
How
brought
are
up
you
Nick
wanting
Shore,
to elect
and they were right.
to how yeah, if
But
you
this
are
is
truly
just as
going
big a
to
bullshit.
represent a municipality, a county, a state, you have to understand what that state is all about, the issues that are pressing in that state. You got to live in the state for a period of time. I think that's a pretty low bar that we have, even the decade. And so I hope people start to look at this very seriously. You know, those are some of the reforms that I would be happy to get behind. Especially, same thing goes for elected legislators in the Missouri State Legislature. Whether you're in the House or the Senate, I think it is important that your primary residence is in your district. And we certainly see that that's not the case for all of our colleagues.
I gotta take 1 second here. I got this terrific thing sent to me. It is a Highway Patrol thing, and it just said it's from Midweek Update Watchers on Elm Street, which
Oh,
I
I love
think
that.
is
That's awesome.
over there. So I'm not sure who to thank, but somebody over on Elm Street. This is wonderful. I will display this proudly. I'm very honored to
Yeah,
have
that's
this.
awesome.
This is a cool thing, and I am a frequent customer of the Highway Patrol. So maybe I just won Customer of the Year. Could have been that, I suppose.
I tell you what, we have an incredible highway patrol. I mean, I have been just so grateful for their work across the state. I've one of the things that it's been really exciting to work on as a member of the budget committee is continuing to push for pay raises for these individuals. They do a lot of good for our state. So kudos to the highway patrol.
So before I let you go, you were replacing someone who I have just the utmost respect and admiration for
Mhm.
in Lauren Arthur. Tell folks how Lauren Arthur will be remembered there in her district in Clay County.
Well, it was telling just a week or two ago, Lauren and I hosted a town hall together, and the amount of gratitude that poured out from folks who were there in attendance just to thank her for her decade of service in Jeff City was really something to see. So, Lauren has been an absolute champion for all issues concerning women, children, and families. She has been, I don't think there's a lot of legislation that has passed in the last few years without Lauren's touch, whether it's the massive, omnibus education bill 727 and everything that Lauren did to really advocate for increased fundings for public education. I mean, that's been Lauren every step of the way. And I think what I admire about her is how it's never been about Lauren. It's what is good for my district, what is good for the state. And she has an incredible ability to work with people who are different from herself, from,
Mhm.
across the aisle, across areas of the state to get stuff done. And so I know I have big shoes to fill. She's been an incredible mentor to me, and I'm really excited just to keep pressing forward in her same spirit.
Yeah, I mean, you do have enormous shoes to fill. And if you look around that Kansas City delegation, Senator Razor steps aside. Patty Lewis, relatively new to the legislature, not new to the House, but relatively new. Then you go, and Rizzo's leaving. You don't know who's going to replace him. That's a big gap. You have Senator Searpoy on the verge. He's got 2 more years left. Senator Luke Meyer with 2 more years. Barb Washington's the dean of the delegation before long, but you've got to get up to speed pretty quick. I mean, Kansas City is losing a lot of heft when they lose Lauren, Rizzo, and Razor all on the same election cycle.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I really congratulate JJ for moving to that new job with the Sports Authority. We need him there, so that's a great position for him right now. Yeah, it is. Without a doubt.
Like, whatever he does just works. Like, whatever he's involved with, Rizzo's just a winner. He just wins.
Yeah.
Like, whatever he's doing, I don't even know what all the job actually entails, you want the truth. But I do know this. He'll come out, he'll do it as well as anybody could and come out better, I bet.
Well, you can sleep well at night knowing the Chiefs aren't going anywhere because JJ's now on that job.
See, that's what I feel good about your Chiefs getting some money to refurbish Arrowhead. If I could critique the campaign that they ran for the first tax increase, Kelton, my critique would be that in one of the commercials, Mahomes was wearing a kind of blue T-shirt, and I think that was far too much Royals for the campaign, and I think sunk it, just like a Royals season. You know,
oh,
stop. It could have been a baby blue Cardinal sweat. You don't know.
Oh, that'd have been smart. There's a lot of Cardinal fans once you get about a mile east of Blue Springs.
That's not true whatsoever. Okay, well, I look forward to watching an I-70 series with you soon, Scott.
And I'm going to come over and ride that streetcar. But now, by God, I ain't going to some place that don't say Anheuser-Busch.
Here's what this is like my life lesson, right? It's all about having an open mind, Scott. Unless you've tried it, you can't diss it. Join me at Cinder Block in North Kansas City. We'll go along the streetcar, check out some other local breweries. So you try it.
You know, I love you, and I know you believe that, but I'm like one of the most close-minded people that's ever lived. So we that's why I enjoy being friends with you, is you're very open-minded, which is a total opposite of myself. Representative, thank you for the time. We stole you for longer than we asked for. You've been very generous. Best of luck. I look forward to taking the F-150 tour up to Clay County.
Please do.
Well, I don't know if I'd whip you at pickleball. Hell, better be careful talking.
But well, it will be fun nonetheless. And join me on some doors. We'll have a good time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, Representative.
Okay, take care.
All right. She's just impressive, right? I mean, I don't know what else to say. You could be the most staunch Republican, and I salute you. There are talented Democratic politicians and leaders, and Lauren is one, and Clay County's produced that district has produced some talent. You think back, I think that's the Ed Quick district from back in the day. Ed Quick, if you go through the Capitol, you look at the legislative leadership, you're going to see a lot of Ed Quick. That's a district that produced Ryan Silvey. That's a district pushed Lord Arthur. Now, look, whoever, Jerry Nolte or Maggie Nuremberg is going to be very successful. A lot of folks are going to know Jerry, former rep, former presiding commissioner of Clay County. They changed their charter up, so I think he's just on the commission. It's a little different. I'm not sure all the details, but Luann Ridgway was there for a while. Appreciate the text on that. Luann, tell you what, you don't get on Luann's bad side. Like, life is better for you if you are not on Luann's bad side. It's where my old buddy John Carpenter's from. Carpenter, so this is the thing. People say, oh, when you get out of politics, nobody calls and texts you. I text Carpenter all the time, right? And he just ghosts me. Then out of the blue one day, he sends me a text. And I'm like, well, fine, about time. John Carpenter was one of the greatest legislators, and he was just there. He was there for the dog days of being a Democrat. And his last term kind of was when Crystal first took over. He saw some green sprouts. He supported Lauren. He's a commissioner now, or a council. I don't know how they do it, but he was on the county commission. It was just your regular old 3 commissioners. Now he's on the thing while there's more. Whatever Carpenter does is going to be good, except he finally texts me back, which I guess I appreciate after all that time of being ghosted. I guess Kelly's moved on to bigger and better things there in Clay County than his old hillbilly pal Faughn. But what we should do is we should do a game for charity, right? We could live stream a pickleball game.
It's possible.
I actually play pickleball, me and my daughter.
I have no doubt of your skill at pickleball.
But I do think that Maggie is in far, far better shape than I am and would probably whoop me. But if we do it after the election, I've been working out with Matt Chin. You're going to see a little bit less of me, I think, going forward. If I have Matt's backing, I wonder if I could make it a game. Maggie's got a lot of energy, I'm telling you.
It's all about skill.
Kelton, give me, if you had no, I don't know how well you know her. High energy, very in shape. I would say contrasted by myself. Where are you putting the over under on this thing? I think you played 11, maybe. I don't actually know.
I'm gonna have to go with Maggie on that one.
Yeah, but what's the spread? I mean, you're gonna give her like 3 points, right?
I don't even know how pickleball is scored, to be honest with you.
Let's say it's 11 points. It's kind of like tennis. You give her +3, right? You're not giving her 3.5. You're giving on me, right?
I would say +3 is a fair amount.
Okay. Well, I'm not thrilled by that. I was hoping he would say like, 2 would be right, but I'll take 3. Thanks, Kelton. Way to give me some confidence going into the pool there at the Lodge of the Four Seasons this weekend. Not really feeling it now. I'm not saying you were in the 4th of July, but you sure as hell didn't make it. Anyhow, so big races. Let's spend 3 minutes here. Governor's race is what I've been telling you. Eigel has a chance to win. I've always said that. Got to have more money. And here's the thing, Kelton. Do we have the graphic that Jarrett made?
Give me like 5 seconds. I can pull
All
it
right.
up.
But I want the one with the faces, right?
I'm pulling it up right now.
So this is if you're Kehoe, so if you're Ashcroft, you want a lot of bullets flying in the air, right? And you want people to just go back to the name they know. I think it's good. I asked Jason, which kudos to Jason Cable Rowe for coming on. What a great guest he was. I had so much fun visiting with him. I hate non-Missourians. I just generally don't like him. I like that dude. He's a good old boy. Ashcroft is kind of hoping he can fly under the radar a little bit. And then when Eigel and Kehoe start hitting each other, or there's just so many ads in the clutter, people just go in there and check the box of the name they know. That's probably his, if you talk to people privately, his ace in the whole strategy. But look, the campaign's in trouble. They have been sinking. And their problem isn't necessarily that they're ahead of Kehoe. Kehoe hasn't been hit yet. So when he gets hit, he's going to come down a little bit. That's just the way everything works. The problem is Eigel's gaining on him. And if you're Jay Ashcroft, he didn't stomp out the Eigel fire when he had a chance, when he had a 30-point lead. I think it's going to take some great fundraising on Ashcroft's part to get them to write that $10,000 check to his PAC when he's down 5, as opposed to why didn't they write it when he was up 30? I think they may look back and be a little remiss they weren't able to raise more money when he had that lead. If he doesn't win, I think that'll be the reason. If you're Eigel, baby, you need money, baby. Anybody that'll give you that dollar, you take them dollars. And Eigel has the message I think this primary electorate actually wants to hear. So he's, it's a big advantage. Now, people are going to text me. They already are. Oh, his promises. Yes, his promises are not going to happen. But nobody cares about that when you're making them. They only care later. And when you're the establishment, then lots of Eigel supporters will turn on him. And that's how it goes when you're that insurgent, telling everybody what they want to hear thing. I think Bill Eigel has the message people want. I think he can deliver the message people want. I think he doesn't have the money to get that message delivered. If he does get that money, I've always told you, Bill Eigel has a chance to win. I'll tell you again. There is no doubt in my mind. And I would not be surprised if he was the governor. However, Mike Kehoe has erased a 30-point deficit, created a lead. Yes, is he spending money? But this is America. It's not fair that he had to go raise the money. Jay Ashcroft was just born with the name Ashcroft. So just like I told you, it doesn't matter that Jay may win on his dad's name. They still call the gal in Arkansas governor who won on her dad's name. It really doesn't matter. So if you want to, you can say, well, Governor Ashcroft, you only won because of your dad's name. Well, you just said that to the Governor Ashcroft. With Kehoe having the most money, he did have to go raise that money, but it doesn't matter. You can whine about him having more money. Who cares? Just doesn't matter. He has the most money. That is how he's built this lead. It's a big deal. So if you're Kehoe, you've got the money to spend. You're locked in. But here's the scenario you want. Kelt, could you pull up the scenario you want? This is the Kehoe scenario. So Eigel, Ashcroft, and Kehoe, you've got Ashcroft and Eigel look at each other being like, oh, I know what. Bill, you attack Kehoe, then I'll attack Kehoe. And really, I won't attack Kehoe. I'll just spend my money on me. And then you and I will fight it out that last week. So what Ashcroft's hoping is Eigel spends his money attacking Kehoe, and Ashcroft spends his money promoting Ashcroft, and he zooms past and wins. Then if you're Eigel, you're like, oh, you go attack Kehoe first, then I'll follow up. Although I actually won't follow up. I'll spend my money on me. and then he'll just spend his money on him and have Ashcroft hit Kehoe, and then he'll win. And so they're going to be looking at each other like, you go first. And Kehoe's like, whoa, guys, well, hey, let's all be friends here. Let's run a positive campaign. All that, and the positive campaign BS starts. I firmly believe that that's how this, if you're Kehoe, that is a very plausible outcome, that Ashcroft and Eigel just do not have a lot of money between them. And they will not, and the money they have, they're going to want to promote themselves, not spend hitting Kehoe. They're going to assume the other candidate will hit Kehoe. The other candidate won't hit Kehoe. And or what they'll do is this. I call it a head fake. They'll make a real mean Kehoe ad. Like, oh, Mike Kehoe is the biggest asshole in the world, right? He's a Cubs fan. He's a Satanist. I put those in order of severity of the attack. Murderer. So Cubs fan would be worse. Sacrificing dogs. They'll say all this stuff about Kehoe, but they won't actually put it on TV. And here's the thing. If you're seeing it on social media, you know who you're voting for. If you're active enough on social media to be in the algorithm to see that ad, you know who you're voting for. That 65-year-old person in Nixa who she's not seeing it, your commercial. So if you don't put money, if you don't call up KY3, if you don't call up KWTO and put money onto that, it's not gonna matter. It won't be nobody's gonna see the thing. So it'll be irrelevant. So that's what, if you're Kehoe, you're hoping. And you got to tip the cap. Great job by Mike Kehoe to turn that lead. And Eigel's kept he's kept his boat floating. If he does come into a bunch of money, I think he makes it a race. And here's the thing: the ideal scenario, if you're Eigel or Ashcroft, is you want Kehoe having to divide his money, hitting both of you. But I tend to think only one of those two is going to be at the level he's going to hit. He's been hitting Ashcroft, and some of that support's been falling to Eigel. I think if Eigel, it's timing in these things. Timing is the underrated part of this. Peaking too soon. If Eigel were to peak and really knock Ashcroft down and get a substantial amount of his support and get up to where Kehoe is, then Kehoe turns those big guns on him and knocks him down. And now the whack-a-mole, it is an incredibly interesting governor's race. Everything Bill Eigel does is more interesting. Mike Kehoe is just a steamroller. I see him doing I see him having the clearest path to win, but I see Bill Eigel out there on the fringe. And if he could get his money, he's got a message that I think folks will buy, a message that I don't think Mike Kehoe can get himself to be a part of. So that's what we'll see going forward. We'll be back. We're going to do one of these. Let's do one of these on Monday.
I'll be here. And
let's take the hell off. Enjoy your family. Happy birthday, America. And thank you again to Maggie Nurnberg. Thank you again to all of you for watching. There'll be no show Sunday. Thank you again to the Courtyard by Marriott, to United Fiber, to my buddy that sent me my Kerry Engelstein. Very grateful. You guys have a great 4th of July.